Well, hello, those on the outside. Welcome again to another session from Margo and Mark. Today, we're going to be talking about abundance and wealth. Okay, it's probably very topical for a lot of people, especially in today's world and climate, things that's going around. But I think we're going to focus more on the uh, actually money and the definitions, thoughts, thinking around that. So that's where we're going to go, and we'll organize ourselves today in a bit of a Q&A session. So question and answer, and yeah, we'll chime in, have a bit of fun, and hopefully you'll find some good nuggets that you can walk away with, and maybe take some notes, jot down a few things just to get yourself thinking about, well, what relationship do I actually have with money? What is my relationship? Some people don't even think that they have a relationship with money or about money. But trust me, we all do. What say you, Mark?
Absolutely. And talking about money, like what are the five ways that we can get money?
Yes,
And they are earn it, win it, steal it, inherit it, or create it. And earning it is what 95% of people do. They're trading their time for money. It's the most common, the hardest, and the most unfulfilling. And then winning it, you've got a 1 in 14 million chance, but then 85% of all people that say win the lottery are broke within the first year because they don't have the underlying ability to manage it because they've never had it. Stealing it, we do not recommend that at all here. So, not a good way. Inherit it, and that's just, the lucky relative game. Do you have a rich uncle, which most of us do not? And then creating it. And that's what we'd like to focus on, creating wealth through business and commerce and adding value.
absolutely.
So, yeah. So, Mark, what would you say are the two main bank accounts that we have in life?
Well, before I get into those bank accounts, what I would like to do is to ask our audience what they may think, or give them some tidbits around their beliefs. So I'll digress to some of the beliefs if I can, if I may, and just ask and talk about some of the beliefs around money. So, with belief, some people believe money is good, which is okay. That's their belief. Some people may believe that money is hard to come by, you know, which is more the scarcity belief. I don't think that leans into the abundance space. Others may feel that money is the root of all evil. Well, I think that is said somewhere biblically, but I don't think it was referring to money. I think it was referring to the individuals and their behavior and attitudes towards that. Um, and
It's actually,
yes,
sorry to
go ahead.
interrupt. It's
No, it's okay.
the love, the love of money is the root of
Yes,
all evil, is the
yes,
quote. So money in
yes,
itself is not evil at
correct.
all. It's only if we
Yes,
place it higher than love and our relationships.
yes, and yes. So as we go through more of the questions, we're gonna people will see, and that well, what how is that best defined and defined? But I did just wanted to ask people to start thinking about their beliefs around um, what are your beliefs around money? What do you believe? And then to challenge yourself about those beliefs. But back to Margot's question, right? Which was, what are the two main bank accounts? Well, in around the money space, we've got financial bank account and we have an emotional bank account. Now, most people would not relate the financial uh, with the emotion, and and what we would say is that you can't have, or you won't have If your emotional bank account is scarce, meaning your emotion, if this is the top, that's the bottom. If your emotional self is sort of here, what will be reflected in your bank account is here, because actually the financial um, bank, if you like, follows the emotional, not the other way around. Now, we'll give a couple of caveats there for our listeners. Um, when you spoke about ways that you can get money, there's probably two ways in there, or maybe three. With one we don't advocate, so I won't even mention that one. Um, but if you want it, that's not necessarily tied to your emotion. Keeping it very much is, but acquiring it isn't. Um, and inheritance. If you got that great gene pool where you where your dad or your granddad or you whatever has you've fallen into that lineage of wealth, financially speaking, then you can get it that way. But in most cases, your bank account will follow the emotional frequency, the emotional energy that you actually have. So that is something you very much want to think about. Okay. What is the status? Or maybe ask yourself, what what is my emotional bank? Well, how much do I have in my emotional tank? Um, is it of high value or is it low value? So yeah, just trying to tie those two back together. And just a reminder that our outer world, what we see, feel, touch with our senses, very much follows our inner world, the metaphysical, what we're thinking, what we believe, this, that, and the other. So, you want to examine that for yourself and see where you are, and you may help to shift that. So, what is money, Mark? What is money? Let our audience know what is money.
Yes, yes, let's backtrack a little bit. We've been talking about it here, but what does it mean? And it is simply a way to measure value. Money is not, we can't eat it, we can't take it anywhere. It's not the money, it's what we can do with the money.
Yes, yes, yes. I love that. Money is a way of measuring value. Thank you, Margo. Why is it impossible to get rich if you're chasing it? Well, um, money is a byproduct. It's an end result or consequent of adding value first. So if you're just chasing money, you may be just chasing your tail. What you may want to look at um, is adding value, creating value, so that um, the money can just show up because you're adding value. Um, which leads us on to the question of wealth, Margo. How do we define wealth? What's the definition of wealth?
Wealth is nothing more than the perception of abundance. So a small child in a poor country, if they have dinner on the table, they feel very wealthy.
Yeah.
And our mentor Peter Sage, he said
Mm-hmm.
one of the most miserable people he ever met had $700 million, and he was just absolutely miserable because he didn't have a
Yes.
billion yet. So
Yes.
it's all about perception, and
It is
and it's
indeed.
also triggered by gratitude. If we're grateful for everything we have every day, which is the highest level of consciousness, unconditional love and gratitude are the
Yes.
healing, abundant emotions, then all the rest just will follow.
Yes, it does. It does indeed. And I'll just add into that um, when you're talking about our mentor, but some of the great stuff that he shared with us in this space. You cannot get wealthy before you become wealthy. So And what we mean by that is, it's again, you want to create that energy in that inner space, the frequency and vibration of wealth, of being wealthy, of being abundant. Um, and you want to be that and vibrating at that frequency before it actually starts manifesting in the physical realm, in the physical space. Yeah, yeah. So yes. And which leads me to the next question is, well, what is poverty? Well, again, poverty um, is just the perception of scarcity. So the perception of scarcity, triggered by fear, actually, and loss. So um, again, and I think you'll start um, feeling the points that sort of are the threads that's going through a lot of what we believe, feel, think about money, abundance, poverty is very much related to our vibrational state and how we actually perceive and are perceiving the world. So, what happens when we broadcast a signal of abundance, Margo? What would we say? What would you say happens there?
When we broadcast that signal of abundance and gratitude, then it simply comes to us as we're adding value. So it's as the levels of consciousness we had talked about before, that when we're through me and just doing what we know is right, then we can let it flow to us. Again, like you were saying, the outer world follows our inner world. And then I'd quickly like to touch on something we discussed earlier, is that
Mm.
a lot of people, a lot of our perceptions around money are from a small child, you know, 5-year-old in a buggy at the mart, where it's like, no, we can't afford that. So as you ask yourself those questions, think about where they came from. And then the perception that there's not enough money in the world, that the rich people are taking money from the poor people. That is not the truth. There's plenty of money for everyone. There's just the way the world works today, that if we are adding value, then we can generate wealth. And
Yeah,
so um,
yeah,
it's not us versus them. It's like, let's all
no,
figure this out and help each
yeah.
other and give to one another.
No, I truly believe in and that there is just abundance and it's just um, we, meaning most of us, beautiful souls and beings, just need to understand how we as individuals can tap into that. I don't want to call it a golden river, but the source and the river of abundance, because there is more than enough in our planet, in our matrix, if you like, for everyone. But we have to just understand how we as individuals can tap into that. Um, yes, and when if you ever find yourself um, in a business way or this that and the other, that you need money for this or that, you may not, it's not necessarily that you need money, you just need a better strategy of acquiring that. So um, think strategy instead of the money, because when we get back to adding value, and if it's about adding value, then it's how can I add value, or what other ways can I add value? And those are strategies, directions that we can go in. So yeah. So is there anything else you wanted to add? I think there's a couple of more things I wanted to share, but Margo, in this space today.
By all means, please let us know what's on your mind. This is just
Okay.
so much
No,
fun to
I was
discuss
just gonna
this
say,
with you.
look, because we're talking about money and the abundance and this, that, and the other, I was just gonna say, money is just a consequence, a byproduct of adding value. I know we've said that, but it's not, it's never too much to say again and again. Never focus on money or what you can get. Um, Instead, focus on how we can contribute, how we can continue to contribute. Um, and with that joy of contribution and like you said, the value and adding value, being grateful and the gratitude. Yeah. A little trivia for our listeners. Uh, Money is conceptual. That's the word I was trying to get out. Conceptual. Money is, and it only exists in the mind of humans. Nowhere else in the universe that we're aware of that it actually exists. No other living organisms on the planet are even focused or even thinking about money. So, um, so when we talk about money, and I'd like to introduce uh, and Margo and I maybe will spend a bit of time on this in a future broadcast. Um, but in the games of life, there's really we call them games of life, but you're looking at areas, financial, relational, health, spiritual, familial, societal, um, vocational. Out of those areas, the three areas that affect us mostly or most as individuals are money, relationship, and health. And when you think about those three, I think you would agree out of the seven that I mentioned, those three sort of stand out because really, if you don't have the one, you don't, um, yeah, we won't get into into the others as we focus on money, but money is a magnifier. Um, when we have it, it just gives us more options to to do more, to give more. Um, Money is the magnifier, and so I think I don't know if you know people, but I know people who have lots of money and they still are very scarce or they have a mindset of scarcity. They won't spend it on anything. They're not generous. They're not, so money's not going to take away who you are. It's just going to magnify that. So if you're a generous person and you like to give and this and the other, money's just going to allow you to do more of that. On the other hand, if you're Mr. Scrooge, Mr. or Mrs. Scrooge, Mr. or Miss Scrooge, then money's just going to magnify your ability to do that too. So, but yes, hmm, I'll
Mm,
wrap my conversation up there. Anything you want to add before we close today, Margo?
that is great stuff, Mark. It's a pleasure always having these discussions with you. And
Hmm,
remember, it's about growth and
absolutely.
contribution. Life is not about being happy, it's about being authentic. So until next time, much love and many blessings to all of you out there.